Doug, we good? Everybody? Great. All right, good afternoon. Thank you for being here and giving me an opportunity to provide information on the officer-involved shooting that occurred on Saturday, May 8th, 2021. My name is Matt Clark. I'm a commander in the Denver Police Department's Major Crimes Division. I'll give you a brief overview today. This is intended to be a preliminary briefing based upon the information that we've gathered after interviewing witnesses and analyzing evidence from the scene. This investigation is in the early stages at this point, and the officers who responded to this incident have still not been interviewed at this point. So as a result, I may be limited in some of the information I can provide or some of the questions I may be able to answer. On May 8th, 2021, just after 10:50 p.m., the Denver Police Department received a call from a resident in the area of 42nd Avenue and Alcott Street, indicating that there was an unknown individual in a secured backyard patio area. The caller provided a thorough description of that individual, and officers were promptly dispatched to the location. 3 Denver police officers arrived at the location approximately 8 minutes after the initial call was made. The officers began examining the back porch area. They were behind, on the other side of a wrought iron fence, which was on the south side of the house. And as they approached, they were suddenly fired upon by the subject who was in the patio area there. A uniformed officer was struck by multiple projectiles that were fired from a shotgun. And in response, another uniformed Denver police officer discharged their weapon in the direction of the subject multiple times. The subject fled the patio and initially avoided capture. Denver officers immediately began rendering life-saving aid to the injured officer. This included the application of a tourniquet to the officer's leg. The officer was rushed to Denver Health Medical Center, where he remains in critical condition at this point. As aid was being rendered to the officer, additional officers from Denver and surrounding jurisdictions worked to establish a perimeter in the neighborhood. Throughout the search, the safety of the community and the officers remained a priority. Officers were methodical in their searches as they went yard to yard looking for the offender in this case. Approximately 70 minutes after the shots had been fired, an individual who was later identified as 40-year-old Pedro Juan Gallegos, his birth date is August 18th of 1980, he was contacted near 40th Avenue and Alcott Street as he attempted to ride a bicycle out of the perimeter. Officers who were on the perimeter recognized that Mr. Gallegos matched the description of the individual involved in this incident, and they detained him. Upon detaining him, they learned that he had 2 active arrest warrants as well. Mr. Gallegos was initially held on those 2 out-of-county arrest warrants. But through the ongoing investigation that was done by the detectives, sufficient probable cause was developed to support an arrest in relation to this case. The detectives obtained a sealed arrest warrant, and Mr. Gallegos is currently being held at the Denver Detention Center on new charges related to this incident. And that includes criminal attempt, first-degree murder, possession of a weapon by a previous offender, and first-degree criminal trespassing. At the scene, investigators recovered a sawed-off shotgun in a nearby bush, and they believe that this is the same weapon that was used to fire upon the Denver officer. In this incident, 1 Denver police officer fired his weapon during the incident. The rounds that were fired by the Denver officer did not strike the subject. Since the involved officer has not been interviewed, I'm not able to provide a number of rounds had been fired at this point. The officer who discharged his weapon was equipped with a body-worn camera, and it did capture video of the incident. The officers who responded to this incident were wearing standard Denver police uniforms and were driving Denver police vehicles. The injured officer is a patrol officer assigned to District 1. He's been with the department for about 4 years at this point. He suffered significant injuries to his legs and pelvis and remains in critical condition at Denver Health Medical Center with his family by his side. At this time, we are not looking for anyone else connected to this incident. The investigation of this critical incident is being investigated by the Denver and Aurora Police Department Homicides Unit, as well as the Denver District Attorney's Office. And the investigation is being monitored by the Office of the Independent Monitor, which is a civilian oversight entity. I would ask anyone with information regarding this incident to contact the Denver Police Department or make an anonymous report through Crime Stoppers. Before I take any questions, I just want to take a moment to thank the paramedics and doctors at Denver Health Medical Center for the phenomenal medical care that they provided and continue to provide to the officer as he recovers. And additionally, a thank you to the law enforcement partners who responded to aid in the perimeter, and the investigative tasks following the incident. If there's any questions, I'll attempt to answer, but please bear in mind, we still need to interview the officers, so we will be withholding information. Sir.
Why did it take so long to announce that there was somebody seemingly custody for this shooting? I know in the fashion where you guys have, I think it was right after midnight Sunday morning, you mentioned there were several people detained, but it seems like today you finally heard for sure that this is the person. And then secondly, why haven't you heard, or why haven't you guys spoken with the officers involved?
Certainly, thank you for those questions. So first, the investigative process is very thorough in these cases, and we wanted to make sure that we had the correct individual. So we initially had that individual detained following the incident as he attempted to leave the perimeter. He was being held in that time on the 2 active arrest warrants. We then sought an arrest warrant once we developed sufficient probable cause through the investigation. So it wasn't at that moment that he was being arrested on our charges related to shooting at the officer. And that took some time to develop enough information to support that. And then once we had that, we went to the judge and got an arrest warrant for him to add those new charges. And that's why we're here today to announce that arrest. Certainly. So certainly one of the involved officers is injured in the in the hospital recovering. The other 2 are, we have interviews planned to do with them, and those will be coming later this week. I'll defer to the media.
Anything else about his injury? Say critical condition?
Critical condition, out of respect for his privacy and medical condition, I can just say that he sustained injuries to his pelvis and legs, and he's in critical condition there.
How many people were initially detained, and do you know what kind of weapon the suspect used?
There were multiple, there was, as far as detained, we had 2 people probably detained. One was released. We talked to several people there, but actually bringing them downtown, there was 2. The weapon that was involved is a sawed-off shotgun.
Do you have any information on why he may have picked that corner, that home, that porch?
We do not know that.
For those who like no clue what a sawed-off shotgun is, what is that exactly?
It's a short shotgun where the end, typically we look at shotguns as being longer rifle-type weapons. It is cut, the barrel's cut.
Does that make it more dangerous?
I'm not sure if it makes it more dangerous. It makes it more concealable, which is often why it's done.
Now, this officer, you said he's been with the department for 4 years. I'm sure this has been a very difficult couple of days for so many people. I'm sure he must have family, you guys. Talk to me about how this is for you guys hearing this and how you're pushing for him.
Sure, it is difficult, recognizing the injuries he sustained and the pain that he suffered through this. It's difficult that we can't be there in the hospital. We're respecting the hospital, the medical treatment they're providing, the COVID protocols that they have, so they can provide medical treatment to other families. So a lot of thoughts and prayers, communication with the family. The department does a great job of outreach and making sure that all their needs are taken care of during this time.
Back to his condition for a second. I know you said he's in critical. I know you're not a doctor, but is it your understanding that he is expected to survive his injuries?
I was told the doctors are encouraged with his progress.
Did the other officers save his life?
I'm not a doctor, but the tourniquet was, I would argue, is absolutely necessary. And given the nature of his injuries and where he was shot, that the tourniquet was critical in saving his life.
Similar to a shooting that happened there 6 years ago, same district, with Officer Lopez Jr.
Certainly. Similar situation there.
Are all officers, do all of them carry a tourniquet on their belt?
A lot of the patrol officers do carry those tourniquets. Yeah. And they have, beyond tourniquets, they also have trauma kits. They're prepared to respond to these situations, and it's not just in police shooting investigation or incidents, it's also if they respond on a shooting call or a stabbing, they have the tools and the medical equipment to hopefully control that until paramedics can get there and we can get them to a hospital.
I know one of the neighbors told us that he found a backpack thrown in his yard with guns in there. Was there any other weapons found in the area or anything else significant?
No other weapons were found in the area, There was other pieces of evidence that we've collected as part of this, and the flight path between that porch and where we ultimately apprehended Mr. Gallegos, but no other weapons.
That weapon was recovered after his arrest?
Yes, sir.
It's fair to say that it's thanks to the barricade that you and other agencies put in place immediately after that this suspect was also captured.
The officers did a great job of setting up a perimeter and containing him within that perimeter, and once he attempted to leave, they recognized and stopped him. They did exactly what it was supposed to.
They recognize him from a general description of the suspect?
Correct, sir.
Neighbors in that area were, when we stopped by, they were pretty unsettled. Can they arrest these now? Is there any other trouble?
Again, we're not looking for anyone else in connection with this incident. We believe Mr. Gallegos is the individual responsible for this, and we have him in custody.
What were the subjects of the other active arrest warrants?
I'm sorry?
What were the subjects of the other
Oh,
arrest warrants?
related to Mr. Gallegos. So I can't actually speak to those. Those are out-of-county warrants.
And why is Aurora involved?
As part of our protocol for critical incident, officer-involved shootings in compliance with the legislation, Aurora is brought in as a co-investigative, a multi-agency investigative team that we use in these police shooting investigations.
Do you by any chance know the officer who was hurt personally?
I don't know him, sir.
Any additional questions?
Thank you, guys.